Dudes and dudettes, how are you guys? This is Chazzy, and today I'm going to be talking about quite possibly one of the most despicable, horrible, and heinous human beings ever to have walked on this planet, if you can even consider this guy a human being. And I actually did a review talking about Wickedly Evil, Wicked something, a movie about this guy starring Zac Efron, but I never really talked about him. And today this video is all about this sicko, Theodore Robert Bundy. Okay, today I'm going to be talking about who many consider to be the worst serial killer of all time, and probably with very good reason. And to those of you who don't know Ted Bundy, he was an American serial killer and also a serial rapist who kidnapped, raped, and murdered many young women throughout his time. He was his peak was during the 70s and a little bit in the 80s, I think, but mostly in the 70s. He committed many crimes. I have a little cheat sheet here. After more than a decade of denials, he was executed in 89, but he confessed to about 30 homicides that he committed in 7 different states between 1974 and 78, you know, but this is Ted Bundy we're talking about, so he definitely had a much higher kill count, you know, and this guy, I don't know, man. It makes me kind of feel sick, actually, when I think about this, you know, and you guys are going to understand why as I talk a little bit about him, you know. But basically, here's the thing. He was 42 when he died, this and that. Now, the thing with Ted Bundy is that he was a very scary fellow, you know, for a number of reasons. I mean, yes, he had a habit of acting very nice and feigning like he was injured or something, and getting help from young women so he could bludgeon them and knock them out and then kill them, sometimes decapitate them, and then have sex with their decomposing corpses. You know, he would do that for a few days until it completely decomposed, and he would just leave the bodies out there in the open. This guy was sick, you know, this guy was really sick, and he, like I just said here, you know, I think he decapitated at least 12 victims and kept the severed heads, you know, in mementos in his apartment. The police actually invaded his place at one point, but they didn't find the severed heads, which is obviously very tragic. And he actually, sometimes he would break into dwellings, and like he would break into homes or sorority houses and college campuses and bludgeon girls as they slept, man. This guy was a freaking coward. You know, this guy was a goddamn coward, you know? I mean, it's already bad enough to hit women, but to do that as they sleep, man. I mean, seriously, this guy did not have any common decency at all. He was like, even if Jack the Ripper has a higher kill count, I still consider Ted Bundy to be even worse because he preyed upon all these sweet and innocent young girls, man. And apparently there's a story behind it because allegedly a long time ago he had a girlfriend who broke up with him, you know? And if you actually look at the victims he went after, the girls that he killed, they actually physically resembled this ex-girlfriend a lot. So it does explain, like, it would be sort of like a vendetta, so to speak. You know, he would actually pursue girls who looked like his ex-girlfriend because of the trauma or something, you know. But anyway, he was finally arrested for the first time in 75 after doing some suspicious activities, you know. And he actually became, back then it was really hard for you to track down a criminal. And Ted Bundy, unfortunately, as bad as this is to say, he was good at what he did, you know, and he was a lawyer, so he would actually routinely defend himself in court. So he would be caught and he would kind of talk his way out of it because he was a handsome guy, he was charismatic, you know, he had a way with words, so he could manipulate people very easily, you know. He could very well be your next door neighbor and you would never know. But the problem with Bundy is that, I don't know, he would use his good looks and his charm to pursue women to go somewhere with him, and that's unfortunately where he would do what he did. Now, here's the crazy thing. He was arrested more than a few times because one of the times he actually escaped, I do believe he was in Florida or Colorado. It's a little confusing here, but anyway, he was arrested at one point, then he escaped prison. He actually managed to escape and committed more murders. He was caught again, escaped again, and committed more murders. So like, it's really hard to like debate whether he was smart or actually very stupid, because you got caught, buddy, then you escape and you kill more, you know. It's like you want to be caught, you know, but it actually just goes to show how much of a raging murder boner this guy had, you know. He felt a necessity to kill. He wanted to kill more and more and more. Nothing could stop his appetite, you know. And he was recaptured again in 1978, and then he committed homicides in Florida, Colorado, and then he was actually, I'm getting towards his execution here. I'm getting a little sick because just talking about this makes me imagine those poor girls and what they had to go through. But anyway, the problem with Ted Bundy is that there was actually a few series of murders here. He killed girls in Washington, Oregon, and then also in Idaho, Utah, Colorado. Then there were a few over in why is this so long? Okay, he went back to Florida. He did a few things. He killed many girls. And the thing with Bundy is that he drove around in a brown Volkswagen Beetle, which for some reason today is in a museum. I don't know why. I don't know why people have the need to put that in a museum. You could probably just burn the thing, you know? But anyway, there's this crazy thing because he actually had a very stable relationship with, I do believe her name was Liz Klepper. Was her name Liz Klepper? He actually was in a relationship with somebody, but I forgot her name completely. What's her name, for crying out loud? What is her name? Liz Klepper, Elizabeth Klepper, something like that. Whatever her name is, I'm gonna put it over here if I got it wrong. He had a relationship with her and he never hurt her at all. He probably never even conceived the idea of hurting her because he was so in love with her apparently. But somehow he was able to suppress that and he would go out and commit all of these atrocious acts with other girls, you know? And then he would come home and put a smile on his face and Liz would be none the worse for wear. You know, she would not suspect anything except at one point she started feeling like there was something wrong and she actually did give his name to the police, you know, and it started spiraling out of control. And Ted Bundy, he was so good at what he did that it was because of him that the term serial killer was even coined. You know, the term serial killer was invented because of Bundy, because it was somebody who was murdering people, you know, periodically. You know, it wasn't just 2 or 3 murders. He was somebody who did it periodically. You know, I think that to become a serial killer you need to kill 5 or more people, something like that. And he was really good at evading the police. And even when he was arrested and even as the evidence was piling on more and more and more, he still kept denying it. He actually kept denying his innocence until the day he was executed, you know. And I think that the person who was even crazier than him was this woman who Carol Ann Boone was her name. I think she became his lawyer at one point, and she was so infatuated with him to the point of actually wanting to marry him, and she actually went to bed with him and they conceived a child together. And honestly, Carol, if you're still alive today and you're watching this video, you're just as much as a psychopath as Bundy, okay? Because it's like the girl who wanted to marry Charles Manson. Why would you marry a serial killer, you know? And it doesn't make any sense. To me, Carol Ann Boone, I would not be in the same room as Carol Ann Boone, you know, even if it's with other people. But whatever. Anyway, so despite everything that he did, he kept denying it fervently. And eventually, while he was on death row, people came to him and interviewed him to see if they could try to catch another serial killer. I believe it was the Green River Killer, something like that. So the guy is so good at what he did that that detectives were coming to him to ask for his expertise. You know, like, if this was you, what would you do, and this and that, you know? But that's a whole nother story. The thing with Bundy is that he was just such a handsome, and he looked like such a casual guy, and he was actually very smart. He went to law school. He defended himself in court quite a few times, and you know, the judge himself in his final sentencing said, look, yeah, I'm sure you would have made a very good lawyer. I would have loved to see you practice in front of me. I'm sorry for the circumstances that took you down this path, you know. So yeah, if you watch the movie with Zac Efron, it's going to show you quite a bit of a detail regarding that. And Ted Bundy was finally, thank God, executed in 1989 in the electric chair, and I believe it was a woman who actually executed him, so it's kind of like a good payback, right? He killed so many women, and it was a woman who executed him and took his life. There were people outside celebrating like it was the 4th of July or something, you know, like burn, Bundy, burn, you know, and everybody was clapping when they saw his body being carried out in a hearse, you know. So it was a big event for the United States, you know, when this guy was finally killed. Now, guys, I probably shouldn't have to say this, you know, but I mean, I'm obviously very against violence, you know, towards women, and I think all of you should be too. If you think that, you know, physically abusing a woman is in any way appropriate, then you deserve to go to hell, just like Ted Bundy did, you know, because women have suffered so much oppression over the years and so much sexism and unequal rights, you know. And the fact that Ted Bundy so casually hurt them so badly and took lives of innocent women who were just trying to help him, you know, because sometimes he would come with an arm and a sling, you know, pretending like he was hurt, and a girl would come by and offer to carry his books to his car and do something. They were just being nice, and he went and bludgeoned them, and then just, I don't know, man. But the fact that he killed so many innocent girls, man, it's just such a tragic waste of life, you know. Sorry, there's like a little bug flying around the camera lens. And it's really sad, you know, it's very, very sad, especially for the families of those young women who were taken so prematurely from them, you know, and obviously Ted Bundy deserved to die. And I really don't think he was even human, man. It was speculated at one point that he had a brain tumor. He had a tumor somewhere in the part of his brain that blocked out empathy, you know, so like he didn't really feel anything. He could kill indiscriminately, you know, like even if the victim looked up at him crying, begging for him not to, he would probably still strangle them, you know. I guess his primary weapon of choice were his hands, you know. He physically strangled them with his own hands, you know, and it was very scary, you know. Worse than that is just performing sexual acts, man. Like, I think he would actually groom the corpses and brush their hair and wash them and dress them in clothes, pretend they were still alive. Kind of like Ed Gein, you know, but Ed Gein wasn't really a serial killer. He was just a corpse, what's the term? A grave robber, you know. It was still disturbing, of course, and he inspired the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but I still think Ted Bundy was a lot worse because he actually took the lives of these women, you know, and cutting off their heads and putting them on display like that scene in The Walking Dead, you know. I don't know, man. Ted Bundy was pretty much the complete package. As horrible as it is to say, the perfect serial killer, you know. It took so long to be caught, and it's so unfortunate that it took so long for him to be executed, you know. But my heart goes out to all of the families who lost, you know, daughters because of him. So yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about that, you know, and give you guys a little more detailed video about what Ted Bundy was like. I obviously left a lot of information out, but it's because it would become too detailed of a video, and I'm getting a little sick just talking about this guy, you know. There was a limited series on Netflix some time ago called the Ted Bundy tapes inside the mind of a serial killer or something like that. I don't believe it's still on Netflix, but it would have been very interesting, you know, to watch if you still hadn't. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Ted Bundy is the kind of person who we have to be glad is gone for good, you know? And that's it, guys. Normally, when I do What's the Damage, I talk really loud and I curse and I do a heated rant, you know? But it's really hard to do that now, you know, because I'm just feeling very sick to my stomach. And hopefully Ted Bundy is burning in hell, in the seventh circle of hell, over and over and over again for all eternity. And that's it, guys. That has been today's video. If you're curious, later go research Ted Bundy on Wikipedia. You're gonna find a lot of detailed articles over there about him and what he did if you're curious. This is Chazzy signing out for now, and as always, I will see you guys in the next video.